Welcome to Aging Insights. I'm Melissa Chalker, Deputy Director for the New Jersey Foundation for Aging. The Foundation's mission is to enable seniors to live with independence and dignity in their communities. Aging Insights is produced by the New Jersey Foundation for Aging to provide information and resources to boomers, seniors, and caregivers, the primary focus being to share important information and connect people to community-based programs. There are many ways to take care of yourself and lots of options out there for living a healthy lifestyle. We often recommend that you talk to your doctor about lifestyle changes and ways to manage your health. But what about alternative medicine or holistic treatments, and what does that even mean? Well, we have two guests here with us today to explain all of that. I'm joined today by Dr. Maria Choy, who is a neurologist who practices integrative medicine, and Siobhan Hutchinson of Next Step Strategies, who's a Tai Chi instructor and an energy medicine practitioner. Thank you, ladies, both for joining me today. This is really, I think, going to be very eye-opening for our viewing audience, and so I'm glad to have two experts in this area with us today. Dr. Choy, I'm going to start with you, and I think we'll get to describe exactly what your specialties are and the ways that you help people, but we wanted to start out, I think, with acupuncture, which is one of the main treatments that you utilize in your practice. So could you first explain to people what acupuncture is?
Well, acupuncture is a way to channel, well, first of all, thank you for having me here. But acupuncture is a way to channel energy. There are meridians in our bodies, which are pathways, kind of like your blood vessels carries blood.
Okay.
Meridians carry energy or chi. And acupuncture taps into these meridians, opens up any obstructions, creates flow, harmonizes everything in order to create better health. If you want to translate this into scientific terms, it works with your physiology as opposed to anatomy. Western medicine works with your anatomy. Where is the lesion? Where is the problem? Acupuncture and traditional Chinese medicine works with how your body works. Where the energy flows is how the neurotransmitters and other chemicals do their work.
Right. So I think that's really great. And right away you're mentioning some key words that I think people often associate with holistic or non-traditional treatments, things like qi, which basically is energy, right? Qi means energy, is that correct?
Qi is the Chinese word. It's very hard to translate. Yes. It's breath, but the essence is energy, is your soul, it's your essence.
Right.
There isn't one word that explains it well in English.
Right. And so the whole point, I guess, of acupuncture then is to hit those meridians to help people's qi to flow and help their bodies to heal whatever the ailment
Correct, to
is,
harmonize the body once again, bring it back to the middle.
And what are some of the, I guess, primary ailments that you help people with through acupuncture? What are some of the things it's best known to treat or help with?
It can treat just about anything if you know what you're doing. But in this country, we use it a lot for pain management. It is one of the biggest problems in our society. We can use it for addiction, like food addiction or drug addiction. You need to detox from a medication that somebody put you on and doesn't agree with you now. Well, acupuncture can help you detox. It can help with febrile illnesses. You name it, it can do it.
Right. And so I want to make sure we're just explaining to people exactly how it works. You mentioned the meridians. And so could you explain exactly how acupuncture works in terms of the placement? Because people might think, oh, needles, I don't want to do needles. But how can we explain it to them so it's not so scary?
Well, I wish I brought my needles with me.
Oh, yeah.
But, they're tiny little things, and you insert them on acupuncture points that they have studied. And, like, this is a very strong acupuncture point. As a matter of fact, if you press this point here, you can get rid of your headaches. It works better with a needle, but if you press it, it'll work too.
Right.
Headaches, neck pain, anything above the waist.
Okay.
But this is a simplified version. What happens is the combination of needles have the same needle will have different effect depending on what you're combining it with. It's a complex, interrelated relationship. And, but let me caution this. I know we started with acupuncture.
Yes.
Let me caution this. Always make sure that your practitioner knows medicine also, because you don't want to treat a headache that is due to a brain tumor with only acupuncture.
Right.
You want to make sure there is no underlying pathology that should be treated and managed in a different way.
So your practice is unique in that you are a medical doctor.
Correct.
In addition to doing acupuncture and some other what people might consider alternative medicines.
Right.
But people who don't have, who are considering these options should also talk to their primary doctor or another medical doctor before, because you want to rule out, as you said, something more serious.
Right. You don't want to treat a cough with acupuncture, get rid of the cough, but leave the pneumonia behind.
Right. So I think that's very important caution to let people know.
It's more important to educate people about the cautions. You can always learn about how the technique is done.
Yes. And so you mentioned the point here for headaches, and that in addition to acupuncture that you could press on it. Now that's called acupressure, is that right?
That's called acupressure, and you don't have to press hard. You just have to find the point. It'll feel like it's pulling you in if you find the right point, if you can feel the energy. Okay? And if you just put your finger gently there, it'll work.
That's terrific. And so obviously your practitioner would know what other points besides the point here that you're putting out.
Yeah, this is just an easy one to demonstrate.
Because we can all see right there. But there are, as you said, points across your body that align with different ailments or symptoms that will help relieve those issues if your practitioner is able to use acupuncture or acupressure in those areas, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Just want to make sure that I'm interpreting it correctly and our audience is getting all the information that they need. So in the open of the show, I mentioned that you're a neurologist who practices integrative medicine, which you said it can also be called complementary medicine because it's in addition to other medicines, correct? Is that?
Yes. Yeah. You want to find a practitioner that doesn't throw out the baby with the bathwater. It's not one is better than the other. They're different. They complement each other. And that's why we sometimes use the word complementary medicine. Others like the word integrative, like Siobhan mentioned, because it integrates the East and the West. It puts everything together. The concept is the same.
Yeah. So just, I think when we talk about this type of medicine or these type of treatments, there are a lot of words that get thrown around and people don't always necessarily understand that they're the same thing or that they're different. Knowing when to know the difference and when to know that it's interchangeable language, I think is important for our audience to know. And given that, one of the things we were going to talk about today is homeopathy.
Oh, yes.
Yes, and could you just explain to people, because they might have heard the word but not really know what it means, what that is? And
a lot of people think homeopathy are your supplements. It is not. There is no chemical in homeopathy.
Okay.
Homeopathy was described by Hahnemann, and what he did is take little poisons, diluted them to the point where there's no chemical left in the water. When it's highly diluted, that water will be energized or take on the properties of the original chemical without the poison because you have diluted it above Avogadro's number. Remember that number from high school?
Hopefully some of our viewing audience
power. Okay, something like that. In any case, when you dilute it to that point, there is no molecule left in the water. And that water is bound to a little sugar and a little lactose, which is not enough to be of much significance to your sugar level. And then that's what you ingest to stimulate the body to heal itself because that electronic signature gets into these same meridians. Okay? I believe. Okay? It's not described into the same meridians and stimulate them to function. So it's another way to stimulate the body energetic system. Right. And it's amazing that this was done before we had microscopes and to figure things out.
Fascinating the history of these, and I'm sure we could do an entire hour, right?
Oh,
just on
absolutely.
The history of
if I told you
sort of
how.
Things. Yeah, exactly.
They figured out what they did.
The main thing is that all of these treatments are reaching those meridians or reaching our energy to help promote health within our bodies. And the acupressure from the outside and the homeopathy from the inside.
It's a good description, but what they have in common is that there is no chemical, there is no side effect. If you don't have a similitude in homeopathy, you don't get side effect. There is no effect. You're just taking sugar water. Right. Okay, and same thing with acupuncture. If I hit something that doesn't have an issue, I do nothing to it. Right. So it's safe.
It's safe, right. And so just so people have an idea, if they were to come to you and you were to prescribe some type of homeopathic treatment for them, what might they expect to encounter at your office if you were to
Well, it would be a very extensive interview because homeopathy relies on the principle of similitude. Whatever your symptoms are, it has to match what the homeopathic agent would have done to a healthy patient who's given that in an undiluted form. Okay. Don't ask me how they figured that out. It's not a good thing. But if it matches, the diluted form will stimulate the body to heal itself from that. So you have to have a very extensive interview of their symptoms, even things that might be unrelated. You may come for a headache and I'll ask you if you have diarrhea. Mm-hmm. And those are things that are important in the whole picture.
Because you don't want to treat the headache with something that might cause stomach upset if they're already experiencing.
No, it's more than just that. The entire system, all your symptoms, because it's a holistic approach, I treat it all at the same time, because they all reflect a disruption of your energy system, and you're putting it back to harmony.
Right. And when we say holistic, we're really just talking about the whole person,
the whole person,
treating, as you said, treating all symptoms and the whole body, and not just
a little
one
bit
area.
more extensive than the whole person. Your interpersonal relationships come into play too, and because they affect your health. And traditional Chinese medicine, homeopathy, all take that into account. You don't treat the patient as an isolated entity. You're a person that is part of a whole, and you're treated that way.
I think that leads us perfectly into talking about another thing that you emphasize in your practice, which is lifestyle changes or lifestyle modifications to help one's health.
It's my passion.
Yeah. So talking about relationships and looking at things in a holistic way, not just going for a treatment like acupuncture or something like that, but also modifying how we behave, what we eat. All of those things impact our health as well, right?
Correct.
So how do you approach that as a practitioner? What things do you ask of your patients, and what things do you suggest to them in terms of lifestyle modification to help?
Okay, well, there's several prongs to this. There's food, there's exercise, and there's interpersonal relationships, body, mind, and spirit.
Right.
Okay, food is a key to keeping healthy, because we use the molecules from that food to build our cells. So if our cells are broken or have inserted particles in there that don't belong there, that belong in a bacteria instead, how are we going to be healthy? And if we're eating GMO food that wipes out our gut, which is 90% of our immune system, remember, it's an antimicrobial, okay? It acts as a pesticide and a herbicide. So if we're destroying our normal gut flora, which is 90% of our immune system, how can we possibly be healthy? Our immune system is needed not only to fight infections, but to fight tumor cells. It's important for the repair mechanism. So if you destroy that, we destroy our health. Okay? Exercise. Exercise releases, you know what I release with acupuncture? Exercise does that. And there are many types. I mean, you can use calisthenics. I like Tai Chi, and Siobhan will be telling us about that. Qigong, which is Tai Chi is a type of Qigong, okay? All that, because they concentrate on the body energetics.
So people shouldn't focus on the fact that if they're coming to a doctor or if they're experiencing an ailment and someone says, oh, you should exercise, they shouldn't say, oh, well, I have bad knees or I have this or I have that, and so far I can't do it, because there's always a way to be active.
That's part of the reason I love Tai Chi, because it's so gentle, you could do it till the day you die.
But there are other modifications too. Of if somebody likes aerobics, there are ways to do it from a seated position. There are modifications to any type of exercise, and even just walking, right? If someone is capable of walking, even just walking is a great exercise, isn't it?
My feeling is the best exercise is the one that you like to do.
There you go.
Because if you're not doing it, it doesn't help you. Or if you're doing it and you're thinking, oh God, I'm doing this again, you're releasing all the wrong chemicals. You're releasing the negative neurotransmitters. You don't want that. You want to release the fun ones. You don't want to release the cortisols, the adrenalines. You want to release the serotonins, the feel-good, the oxytocin, all the feel-good neurotransmitters.
Right. So. And I think that's what people don't realize, that's the other benefit of exercise and of movement, right? It's not just for your physical health, but it's also very good for your spiritual and your...
It's all interrelated. You can't separate it. Ooh, that's right. Okay, you can't separate it. And the last leg of staying healthy in lifestyle is a spiritual practice, a meditative practice, a contemplative practice, and that affects your interpersonal relationships, because you can't be in a good centered state and not have good interpersonal. It just goes together, or vice versa. So you need to get rid of the garbage, or at least block it, and then get into this good centered stage where prayer or meditation or both are a focal part of your life. Because if you start that way, everything else falls into place. Everything else balances, and you won't need me to balance it for you with acupuncture. Okay, so your meditative practice is what I do for you when I do acupuncture, because you're not balanced enough to do it yourself yet. My goal is to get a patient there so that they can keep themselves healthy. And Tai Chi and Qigong is a way to get there, because that's a moving meditation.
Right.
It's easier for the Western mind to do a moving meditation because we're always on the move.
Yes.
And so if we're on the move and we do this, eventually, you know, as we get older and we need to take it a little easier, a contemplative practice becomes more prominent.
And similar to exercise, a meditative or spiritual practice, there is no right answer. It's whatever makes you works for you and makes you feel good, right?
Yeah, if it feels good, you're probably releasing the right chemicals.
And so you mentioned, you know, as we get older, that some of these things are better for us. So keeping in mind older adult patients in particular, is there anything that you recommend, or certain treatments that you steer them towards because it's good as we grow older?
I think exercise. You cannot minimize the importance of exercise. If you start with that, it's a start. It's not all it takes. It's a start. And you know, there's a reason why Tai Chi is so popular in China, why it is in every corner of every park, every corner. Because first of all, when you do it outside, you absorb the energy from nature, so it's so much better. But it is an exercise that everybody can do. Aging is not an impediment. You adapt it to your aging process. And therefore, it's so good for your health. I can't emphasize it enough.
Well, I think that's terrific, and I think it leads directly into us talking to Siobhan about some of her experience. But I want to thank you for sharing all that with us, and remind folks that if they are looking for a practitioner, that they need to find someone who fits their needs and asks the right questions that they're comfortable with, right?
Absolutely.
And always talk to their medical doctor before starting something new.
Always make sure, and you know, you can start at home now. You know, even if you don't know how to do Tai Chi, you can eat better.
Yeah.
Start with eating better.
Terrific. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Siobhan, thank you, and welcome back. Some of our viewers might recognize you. You've been with us before to talk about Tai Chi, but we're gonna talk about that and then a little more today as well. But if you could remind folks who are watching at home what Tai Chi is.
You can do Tai Chi seated, standing, and I'll even say mentally, after you know how to do it physically. But a good teacher knows how to adapt the different forms to fit the student's needs, whether it's because of their age or their abilities. So a good teacher, an accredited teacher, and these are part of the questions you should be asking of your teacher, is, are you accredited? How long have you taught? Have you had experience teaching seniors? So someone like myself, I work with a lot of assisted livings centers, memory care, as well as rehab. So it's very adaptable to different situations. So you want
somebody who has that ability to modify the exercises given everyone's physical ability.
Yes.
So if someone's not able to do the exercise as intended, there's a modification for that.
Exactly. Right. A good teacher can always adapt. Now, Tai Chi is a mindful, moving meditation. At least that's how I'll describe the particular form that I teach, Tai Chi Cha. So there's many different Tai Chi forms, and they're all good. So I'll never say that one form is better than another. They're all good. However, Tai Chi in general, when you're using those terms, refers to martial arts. And so the teacher, after showing you some very, like if you remember Karate Kid, the movie, the wipe on, wipe off, and finally the student says, I have had enough of cleaning windows, and the teacher said, well, this is to block a blow. That's called an application. They're giving you an application for why you're doing the movement. Whereas the form that I teach has no applications because we're not fighting or running away from somebody. We're doing a more Qigong-like form of mindful moving meditation, which helps stimulate your body's natural healing ability, just as acupuncture does. We're working with the meridian system as well.
And the movement has obviously a physical as well as a mental or emotional benefit, right? It's that spiritual practice that we've been talking about.
We talk about grounding a lot. It's a very grounding practice, but that's both being grounded physically, mentally, and emotionally. So it helps bring balance. And with a calmer mind, some people use the term monkey mind, that we just have this kind of like, if you watch the Peanuts cartoon and the teacher's going, wah, 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 wah. Yes. It's like in your brain, it's a constant tape of, I'm going to say nonsense, that some people just can't switch off. So when you start focusing on the breath, and you become mindful, the mind quiets, and that's where the healing comes in.
Sure.
And as you get deeper and deeper into the practice, then it also opens you up spiritually. And when I say that, it doesn't matter which religion or belief system you have, it opens you up to a universal power that we all can tap into, that's very calming, healing, and just a beautiful experience.
I just love the way that you word that and phrase it, and I think that hopefully the folks at home get the intention behind it as well. Speaking of kind of this healing and energy and stuff, and you mentioned the word tapping into, but you're also an energy medicine practitioner. Can you explain a little bit at least of what that is and specifically the type that you practice?
Right. In a way, I wish we had another name for it, because when people think of energy, they're thinking of maybe PSENG, or maybe they're thinking of, like robust physical energy. And what we're referring to is you have an energetic body. So some people go, what is she talking about? You have this aura, it's sometimes called a biofield, but we have what we call subtle energies that our body emits and has within. So what we believe is that disease enters the energetic body outside of the body before it enters the body, and therefore by doing these movements or going to acupuncture, you're actually balancing before it may hit the body.
Right. And understanding sort of this energy practice might be easier if people could see what you mean by it. So this was something you told me that we can do for ourselves.
Right.
So if you could just give a quick
Rub
example.
your hands together. We'll do it together and shake them out. If we tap on the cheekbones, tap firmly, this helps with sinus congestion and sinus headaches. So you would tap until you start to feel that movement. You have two little bones at the base of the throat, and if you gently lower your fingertips, you'll start to feel a little dip or a little soft spot in the body. Kind of like when you feel an apple and a bruise on the apple, that's usually an acupuncture point. This is the end of kidney meridian. If you stimulate it by rubbing deeply, or you could be thumping on it, this is your body's energy fuse box. So after lunch, when you start to feel a little tired, this will stimulate to give you a little boost of energy. My favorite is right here between the bosoms, the Tarzan, I call it the Tarzan thump. You're thumping on your thymus. This actually helps increase your immune system. And yes, there's scientific research behind this, which I won't get into, but there are studies showing that by stimulating the thymus, by thumping on it, it increases your immunity, and if you do it gently on yourself, you'll start to feel calmer. It also brings down fear.
Right. So basically, to summarize and hopefully not do any damage to what you've beautifully said, but we're using the same principles of acupuncture, acupressure, of these points in our body, that stimulating them ourselves through touch helps to alleviate symptoms or promote health within your body, right?
And not to complicate things, but we're working with the body's energy. These taps are just very simple and easy to show, but we can use energy medicine by not even touching the body, but just over the body, and it's very healing, and we can work with the body's energy field outside of the physical plane.
Well, this has been very enlightening, and I'm so thankful to both of you to take the time to explain this to me and to our audience, and I hope that they've learned as much from you as I have. So I do want to also thank our guests for watching today. Aging Insights is produced by the New Jersey Foundation for Aging and is made possible by donations to the foundation. To become a sponsor for Aging Insights programs, please go to our website at www.njfoundationforaging.org or call the office at 609-421-0206. All of our previous programs may be viewed on the website. We want to remind you to find out about senior services in your area. Please contact your county offices on aging. Their numbers are on our website, or you can call the state hotline at 1-877-222-3737. Thank you for watching this episode of Aging Insights, and remember, aging is everyone's business.